Hello everyone, and welcome back to another USMLE 101 video. This time we're going to be talking about Chief Year. What is it about? What exactly do I recommend in terms of applying? Who should apply? Who should not apply? And if there are anything specific to international graduates, I'll mention that at the end. So right off the bat, a Chief Year is an additional year to the 3-year of internal medicine residency that you do. Some programs do offer a third-year Chief, which is separate. That's not my topic of discussion at this moment. And this one is an additional year as a PGY4 after you finish your residency. You are tasked with doing administrative tasks related to scheduling, for example, changes to the schedule, working with the residents, conflict resolutions, or doing the morning report, which is a big part of it. You do also some educational activities. In my program specifically, we had a lot of those. So you get involved with all the educational activities related to the residency. The other part is clinical part, which you work as an internal medicine attending in the residency itself. You can be an academic hospitalist for a couple of weeks during the year or so, and also you do some outpatient medicine as a preceptor or an attending in the outpatient office, which is what I did. The other programs can do things a little bit differently. Some people have less of clinical tasks. Some people have a little more. So you have to kind of see where your program is and kind of ask the program leadership what exactly entails in terms of your tasks as a chief resident before you apply. Some programs do offer the chief resident position to specific people, so it's not something you apply for, it's something you're selected for, so just be aware of that. And the other part is that sometimes some programs do offer a chief resident position to residents who are not from their program, so also be aware of that. If something that is not suitable in your own program, or it's something that you can't do in your own program, then maybe you can consider other programs as well. So do your research and see where those positions are. So now let's talk about exactly why you should apply. Is there any benefit to the Chief Year, or is it just a wasted year here? So I think there are a lot of benefits, and I do encourage everybody to consider applying into that position. The first thing, and that's the obvious one, is that it increases your CV value. It's a really good position to have on your CV, not just at the moment, but also down the road and any time of your life. Anybody who has ever been a chief resident, you are part of something special, and I think that it adds a lot to your resume wherever you go. The other part here is if you are applying to fellowship or going into academic hospitalist positions. So for fellowships, I think specifically for competitive fellowships, it's something that program directors for fellowships look upon it highly, and they think that this is a great thing to have in your resume as well. If you are already ready and you really don't feel like you need, that additional year or that additional boost to your resume, then I think you can still apply, no problem. But it doesn't hurt at all to have that additional year, no matter where you end up being. If you're applying to non-competitive fellowships, then it's something that you still have to consider a little bit more wisely and whether or not it's worth it. But overall, I still think that any fellowship position would look highly on your resume if you do have a chief resident year added to it. The other part is the academic hospitalist. I think if you're going, especially from a community program, it shows that you are interested into academics and interested into being a leader, interested into doing educational research or educational activities and so forth. So it's something to consider as well if you want to pursue academia later on. Again, especially if you're coming from a community program. The other part here is that it's an extra year in general that gives you time to do more with your resume, not just because of the year itself, but just in general as you do not have to apply to any positions at the end of your second year or beginning of your third year. So if you decided to change your fellowship interest in the middle of your residency or something changed that lead you to needing more time, then I think having that additional year in your third year to do electives, to do research, to work on networking and so forth is a really great option as well. The last part is that I do think it's a great transitional year into whatever you're going into. So for me, for example, I'm going into internal medicine to work as a hospitalist, and that year does offer the time and does offer the mentorship as well to kind of work in that position and see how you're doing. I guess you can still do well if you just go right ahead and become a hospitalist, but it still gives you a little bit of a boost and it gives you a little more maturity before you start the real job, quote and unquote. The other part is the networking and the ability to research as well during that year. I think it's a benefit on its own. I think it's something that if you are interested in overall, even if you've done enough research to apply for fellowship, just generally, if you are interested in research, that's another year that you can really invest your time and really have additional time to work on that and do a lot of research and whatever specialty you're going into. So now those are kind of the pros. Now let's talk about the cons. Who exactly should not apply? I've known people who really hated the year, who didn't like it at all, and some people who really loved it. So in order to actually enjoy that year, you have to know what you're getting into. You have to know that there are a lot of administrative tasks, there's a lot of emails, a lot of meetings, a lot of conflicts that you have to work with. And if that is something that is absolutely difficult for you to go through, or something that you have zero interest in, then probably you should not apply. Even all these benefits that I talked about, I still think that you should enjoy the year regardless of all the benefits. It's still an additional year of work, and it's an additional year of hard work. So it's important that you enjoy that year. The other part is that if you were to go into a non-competitive fellowship, probably it's best to just apply to that fellowship and go and kind of finish your fellowship right away. If you're not interested into the academia or the academic part, or if you're not interested into the actual work that you're going to be doing in that chief year. And lastly, if you're going into a hospitalist position as well, I think that you're missing out on a substantial amount of income that you will have as a hospitalist that you're not going to get as a chief resident. Some programs do offer a little bit more money for that year, but it's still nowhere close to anything that you will make as a hospitalist. So be aware of that and know that you are delaying a little bit that income that you potentially can have. So finally, if you are an international graduate, does it make any difference? So a couple of things to note is that it's an additional year that your program has to apply for an additional J1 visa or an H1B visa. It can be an extension to the previous program. That's something that they can do as well. But you have to work with your program and know that they will offer a J1 visa for that specific position. So just know exactly what they are able to offer. The other part is that this is, again, an additional year that can take up from your fellowship. So if you are going into a fellowship, let's say cardiology, and you want to pursue, again, an additional year at the end for, let's say, heart failure, or you're doing a little more, intervention, there is a limit to the number of years that you can get a J1 visa extension from ECFMG. So if you use that year for the chief position, then you lose on the additional year that you can do after you finish your fellowship. So you're kind of stuck in the area where you have to be a general cardiologist for a little bit, do your waiver or whatever you got to do before you apply to an additional training at that time. So be aware of that. It's something to have to consider, especially going into those additional fellowship years. So that's been it. That's my take. I think it was a tremendous year. I personally did a lot of educational research, and I did a lot of educational activities. We introduced simulation in my program. We did a lot of the journal club and the morning report kind of reform. We did a couple of projects at the end of the year as well with residents. So I really did enjoy it. I even improved my skills by taking POCUS courses and kind of teaching POCUS as well in my program. So it was an additional year that I really loved, and I would do it all over again. I would recommend everybody to do it if it's right for you. So that's been it. I hope you enjoy your day, and see you guys in the next one.